What up, everybody? Joe White here, coming to you live from the dark because I have a headache and I'm trying to keep the truck as dark as possible right now. I had a question about something that I've always noticed in movies. As a lot of you know, I love movies. I love film. I love television. I love following the business. I love reading the trades, if you even want to call them trades anymore. They're more like dirt sheets. But one thing I've noticed, and maybe it is the foodie in me, maybe it is the love of all things Italian in me, but I'm watching The Godfather, and there's one scene in the entire movie where the family is sitting around. Well, I take that back. Two scenes. One of which they're not even eating. But it is a key scene in the movie where Clemenza is, come over here, kid. You may have to cook for 30 men someday. And you start with a little bit of water. You fry some garlic. Tomato paste, you stir it around, make sure it doesn't stick, and then you throw in your sausage and meatballs and a little bit of red wine and sugar, and that's my trick. So he's making pasta sauce. You can see the Barilla pasta and the Progresso, which I thought Progresso was just a brand of soup until I watched The Godfather and noticed, no, Progresso made canned tomatoes and tomato paste for cooking and stuff. So, and you can see, if you look at the background of that shot, when it goes to the back counter, you see boxes of Barilla pasta, which that's why Barilla is my favorite. And then you see mountains of bread and all this stuff because the whole family, the entire mob is gonna pig out on pasta. That scene plus the other scene where the Godfather comes home, I don't count the wedding because they're eating sandwiches and fruit and stuff like that. Which, if you ever heard Francis Ford Coppola talk about the movie, that scene, the reason why Paulie gets thrown prosciutto and gabagool and sandwiches at him is because that's how it was in Italian Americans back in that day. They didn't have big, huge spreads. They had what they called football sandwiches, and you would go over to the table, somebody would go over to the table and, hey, you want a sandwich? All right, catch. And they would be wrapped up in parchment paper and with string tied around them, and they throw them like footballs at each other, pass them out. So I don't count the wedding scene. But the other scene in The Godfather where they're eating Italian food is when Don Vito Corleone comes home from the hospital after having a hit put on him. 5 shots. They got him with 5 shots and he's still alive, says the Turk. But the Godfather, they carry him upstairs, and while Don Vito is resting comfortably, the family's downstairs having dinner, and you hear them mention chicken cacciatore, which is a very much an Italian dish. I don't know if it's Italian American. Pizza is very much an Italian dish. It was invented in Naples. Pasta was not invented by the Italians. Pasta is very much an Asian dish that was adapted, and handed down. But anyway, the Italians made it their own. But those are the only 2 scenes where you really see spaghetti and meatballs and chicken cacciatore and what we here in America call Italian food. I imagine that real Italians, you go over there, there's videos online of, watch this Italian grandmother try Olive Garden for the first time. And, she hates it. But, anyway. So that brings me to the point of this video. There's another scene in The Godfather. It's a very pivotal scene where they're all sitting around. They've agreed that Michael is going to be the one to take out Sollozzo. Michael You got that very pivotal scene. You know, what do you want to do? Gun down a New York police captain just because he smacked you in the face? This isn't the army where you shoot him a mile away. You got to get up close, bada bing, and you spill their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit. And he, Tom, he's taking this very, very personal, and he goes, it's strictly business, Sonny. Strictly business. So they've agreed that Michael is going to get mixed up in the family business. And Michael has decided that he's going to be the one to kill McCluskey, the Irish police captain, and Sollozzo the Turk. So there's a scene right before Michael is going to go perform this hit, right before Michael is going to go perform these two murders. They're sitting around a table and they are eating Chinese food. Like Chinese takeaway, like you would call up your local Great Wall and say, give me a beef and broccoli, and it comes in the little white containers. They're eating that mess. And they love it. The Italians in these movies, it brings me to the point of the video, they love the Chinese food. There's another movie where I love this movie. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called Next of Kin. Patrick Swayze is in it. Helen Hunt plays his wife. Bill Paxton's in it. Liam Neeson with a southern accent. He does a southern accent better than I do, and it's my natural accent. If you've never seen it, it's an early 90s, late 80s mob movie. Hillbillies versus the mob. It's called Next of Kin. Check it out. One of Swayze's best films, one of his most underrated films. One of Helen Hunt's best films. Hell, everybody in that movie is good. The guy who played the one-armed man in The Fugitive, he plays the mob boss. And there's only one scene in this movie where pasta and spaghetti, and you see him doing the scarpetta with the bread, which scarpetta means little shoe in Italian, which is when you scrape up your bread. That's something that we learned from the Italians here in America. Whenever you have gravy or sauce or something and you got bread nearby, you scoop it up with the bread, and supposedly the shoe, the shape it makes is that of a little shoe, so the Italians deem that scarpetta. So there's only one scene in this whole movie where fucking Italians are eating authentic Italian food or making Italian food. The rest of the movie, anytime you see an Italian sitting down to eat in these movies, they're eating Chinese food. So my question is and it's not the only movie I've seen this in, but my question is to you guys, do Italian Americans really love Chinese food? And I'm wondering why, if anybody out there knows why we don't see Italians, well, I will take that back. There's one more scene in The Godfather. Before they bring Vito home, they're doing the piano montage of all the war and the people going to the mattresses, and they show somebody throwing out spaghetti or passing around spaghetti. But I don't know why mobsters feel that, why people, Coppola is an Italian, and one of the reasons why mob movies never really worked in the 60s was because they were all directed by Jews or Americans or WASPs, people who were not Italian. So, I mean, I know it's in there. I know it's akin to, I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but it's like, Joe, you want the white people to sit around and eat spaghetti. You don't see, but yet you don't see all Ice Cube and Chris Rock sitting out in front of the stoop in Friday eating fried chicken and watermelon. No, you don't. No, you don't. In fact, some of the best meals I've ever had in my life were cooked by black women. But anyway, in fact, if I go in a truck stop and I see a white man behind the damn counter cooking my food, I know it's probably going to come out like shit. But if I see an African American behind that stove, I'm like, oh man, I'm in for a treat. And that's not being racist at all. I mean, some of my, red beans and rice in the South were invented by Cajuns and blacks, and some of the best food in this country was invented by African Americans. So, but I'm not trying to be racist towards Italians either, saying, anytime an Italian mob movie is on, they better damn well be eating fucking spaghetti and garlic bread and drinking the vino. No. But I do wonder often why they're eating Chinese food in these movies. It's weird to me why they would be, it's a mob movie and they're trying to stereotype them. Let's face it, you watch a mob movie, you're here for forget about it, I mean, Tony Soprano always walked around wondering where the gabagool was, So, but I've often wondered why in movies, mob movies, they go right to the Chinese food, If somebody can explain this to me, I would love it. Anyway, folks, if you see a big rig on the road, let us over if we need to get over. If we signal that we need to get over, slow down, let us in. Do not tailgate us. Give us plenty of room out here, guys. Do not rear end us. Also, go the fucking speed limit. If the speed limit says 65, go 65. Anyway. Remember also, if you cannot see our mirrors, we can't see you. And we'll see you down the road. Gonna go have a freaking salad for dinner tonight. Ugh. I wish I was in an Italian restaurant right now.